On today's show, we're going to be discussing the riots and protests that is going on all across the world. We have special guest, Miss Kincaid, by popular demand. She's a licensed counselor, and also we're going to have Patrick Averhart, who is a young activist coming up today. Um, you can live chat with us today. As we welcome them into the show, we're going to bring them in, and we will go from there. Good morning, Miss Kincaid. Welcome to
Good
the studio.
morning. Good morning, Curtis. Thank you so much for allowing me to come once again.
Oh, you know you have an open invitation. You can
Thank
come
you.
whenever you want to. Let me invite Pat in. Patrick, come on into the house. How you
Hi,
doing
Patrick.
today?
I'm good, sir. How about you?
Doing great, doing great. All right.
Good, good.
This last week have been a real difficult time for a lot of us.
Yes.
The killing of George Floyd and the riots, the protests, and all of that. I brought Patrick on, because he is a young active in the community. Um, I know that we talked one on one quite a bit. Wanted to get a young person view, and then
hmm
also um, kind of an older person myself
I'm
view.
older.
And then also we always have to have somebody who can provide some help for mental health.
Right.
Um, so Miss King, let's ask Patrick. He's the young one of the crew. Pat, how did you feel about this riot and protesting going on and everything?
Um, I do think that first and foremost, it is important to distinguish between the two. I 100% uh, support the protest. There's been need for that. We need to do that more often, actually. For
hmm
the things that we need to advocate not only with black issues but across the board, but mainly with black issues because there are so many issues that we need to address as black folks at a federal, state, and local level that I think that we need to protest more. The riots are a byproduct of people taking advantage of the atmosphere that comes with a protest. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Um, there is a certain level of upheaval that you do create when you have a protest. Even with a peaceful protest, like you want to know that you want to show the system that the people can come together if needed in mass. And that is a powerful image. But people try to take advantage of that and they hijack that. I will say this about the riots, though. People, capitalism itself, whether we talk about poverty or oppression or which are also byproducts of capitalism, they um they kill people too. They leave people jobless. They leave people homeless. They leave people. It's the system that we're fighting. So although I don't personally condone the protest, I do understand where the anger comes from. I do understand where the resentment comes from. I do understand where the energy comes from. I wouldn't do it myself. That wouldn't be my personal tactic as far as sticking it to the system or trying to send a message to the system at large. But I'm not going to condone it. I'm also not going to get on the pedestal and say that I'm against it either, because when you live by a system of oppression, when you create the circumstance in which Black Americans currently live in, the chickens will come home to roost eventually. And I think that the coronavirus expedited things that are currently happening right now. This is something that if the coronavirus wouldn't have happened, we'd probably be waiting 5, 10. It'd be a lot more drawn out. But when you got 30, 40 million people unemployed, when you got 30, 40 million people who have a bleak future, a bleak outlook, along with the people who are about to be unemployed, once things go back to normal, because businesses aren't going to be able to make a bottom dollar, at least a bottom line, make their bottom line for at least another year or so, you create angst, you create anxiety, you create a climate in which people feel like they have no other choice. So that's pretty much been my take on it so far.
You said a lot right there. You said a lot.
Right.
And I agree with you. I really feel like the protest is needed. But I also, like I've said in past shows, the best way to protest is registering to vote and get out and vote. With everybody
Amen.
that is protesting,
Yes, yes.
we can change this whole world if we get out and vote. That not just the presidential election, but also your local election. Miss Kincaid, can we have your view on
Right.
everything?
Yeah. People right now are on edge. As Patrick said, the coronavirus, we were already staying in place. You were limited in where you should go. And so people were on edge. And I think the murder of George Floyd just took them over the top. We all have the propensity to um, go there, to riot. People want to think, oh, I would never do that, but we should never say never, because we all have a point where, we'll do something that we wouldn't imagine that we would do. And even last night, just looking at, George Floyd's brother, the pain that they're experiencing, just even seeing, on live TV, his brother pass away, it's overwhelming. So, everybody is feeling that sense of grief, and loss, loss of jobs, loss of family, loss of, the normal way, our old normal way of living, because we're going to be living differently. And I'm with you, Curtis. Voting is paramount in order to change things. And we have to vote in every election, whether it's, local, state, we have to vote. We shouldn't just wait for the presidential election. We should vote every cycle. In Texas, we're getting ready to have another primary. Everybody should be out there voting on that primary.
Exactly.
And not just wait until November to vote.
Okay, look like Pat lost a sibling. He'll be back in a minute. We should definitely get out and vote and be able to express everything about that's the best way to really protest in my eyes. Now, at some point, we have to say enough is enough. And once we get to that breaking point, this is the results that happen once the breaking points come up. So definitely live chat with
people are saying the right to your they're telling us the right to your congressperson, but I can tell you that I've written to our congressperson that are a Republican, and I never really get a response back. So it shows me that those individuals are not for me. They're with whoever's supporting their agenda. So we really have to get out there and replace those individuals with people who are for us, and we sit back time and time again thinking that our vote doesn't count. I know in Arlington at one point there was somebody who became a council person just by 2 votes, and that's all it was. So every vote does count.
Oh, yes, it does. And I've had friends and family members say, "Oh, I'm not voting because my vote don't count." No, every vote counts. You have to vote in order to make a difference. And also, we heard the president say certain things in the news, calling the protesters thugs, and talking about if they start looting, we start shooting. That's just from the slavery days of using that type of talk. And at this point, he needs to go. So we need everybody to get out and vote to get him out of office, along with all his puppets, get them out of office, and it all starts locally and lead up to the president.
Yes, it does. It's very important that we do get out and vote.
Exactly. And also, Ted Cruz backed what the president said last week. He backed that, and I'm like, no, I don't like him. I'm gonna be straight up honest. I don't like him because
Mhm.
he's just another puppet trying to get a spot at the table. And people like that, we need to get them
Right.
out of office. We need to say, hey, enough is enough. If you're not
Right.
for the people need to remove you. And during this pandemic,
Right.
because some people they don't realize we're still in a pandemic. We're
Yep.
still in one. And
Yes.
we it's like we forgot about it with all the protests that is going on, um, with all the protests that is going on, and also um, the riots and all of this. Most people are wearing masks, but I also see a lot of them not wearing masks. Even here in Dallas yesterday,
Not wearing
um,
masks.
I've seen um, the protests at the police department, the peaceful protests at the
Yeah.
police department. Uh, a lot of
Right.
people had on masks. A lot of them didn't, and we need to
Right.
still protect ourselves because this virus is still alive and well.
Right.
It's serious. It will take you out. So while you're out there, you definitely um, need to go ahead and protect yourself while you're doing this. I was gonna go to the protest on Friday, and I was gonna take a chance for the simple fact that I get nervous when I'm around a large crowd, but because I believe in this movement, I was gonna go. But as soon as I heard them
Mhm.
say he's charged with third-degree murder, I said it's not gonna be good.
It
It's
should
not
be
gonna.
first.
It should be
Yes.
first-degree murder,
Yes. It should
and
be first.
I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be good. It's gonna be bad in Dallas. So I'm like, no, I'm not gonna go to it. Made that choice, but it was a hard choice for the simple fact I have to be safe with what I'm doing and all of this. I support the protests. Uh,
Mhm.
I will be doing some here in my city. I've noticed that people have talked about doing protests, and when they do it here, I will be involved. It should be a smaller crowd, but due to some of the things I've gone through, I really don't like large crowds. But I'm all for it. I support it.
Mhm.
I do support it, and I think on next door, more people was talking about the horse that got hit with the rock. They were upset about that, but not about the situation. The situation
Mhm.
of another
Yeah.
black man is getting killed by the police.
Why they're protesting.
Yeah,
Right.
they
Right.
upset about a horse that got hit with a rock. Of course, I'm sure if you talk to the person that threw the rock, he probably say I wasn't going for the rock. Um,
Right.
uh,
For the
got a
horse.
got a message said, "Oops, something happened." I guess Pat, you still there? You can still. Okay, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Hold on. Miss Kincaid, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear
Okay.
and see you.
I don't know what's going on with Pat. I can't hear him at all. Um, but we definitely have to take a stand and say, you know what? Enough is enough. Um, and
And I think that if we do something actively, all the protest doesn't have to be in the street. We can try to get people to vote. We can get some voter registration, just handing those out. That's a way to help. We can contact our congressperson. We can call them. We can write them. In spite of the fact that they may not be receptive to us, just actively doing something. There are so many different things that we can try to do. Because some of that will reduce some of the anxiety that we're having as well because we have black and brown young men, that every one of us know, y'all are black men, and so you have to take precautions, in spite of what's happening. I saw a video in Seattle, even though the incident that happened, the murder that happened with George Floyd, there was a cop that had his knee on somebody's neck in Seattle a couple of days ago, and another cop aggressively pushed his knee away from the person's neck because the crowd was yelling, "Get your knee off his neck!" And in spite of everything that happened, this officer still had his knee on someone else's neck. There has to be a change in their thought process, and there has to be accountability and that's the main thing. They're not being held accountable in many cases. So many people, we have some wins, but we have so many different losses where these officers are acquitted. And they are saying maybe the flavor of the police force will start changing now, because there are a lot of police chiefs now speaking against what happened, and governors speaking against what's happening. So maybe this will cause a change within the police force and more accountability.
And not only that, speaking of that in Washington, and Patrick, I talked to you over the weekend about a case here in Dallas that happened a couple of years back. I cannot remember the young man's name, but the young man called 911. Called 911 because he was having a mental breakdown. Explained to them he'd been off his medication. The police officer showed up. It was 3 of them. And when they showed up, they end up tying this young man. And they laid on his back.
Yeah.
And ended up killing this young man.
Yeah.
Now, I'm like this. I support some of the best candidates, but I would recommend, I believe the guy name is Timblin or something like that. I want to say it was CBS that did a story on it, NBC did a story on it. It's on the Dallas Morning News. Just Google that. Now I get that information in just a minute. But the thing is, this has been going on a long time. That's why the police officers are not supposed to tie no one, and it's still happening today. Because I actually, I'm trying to find, just Google, "You're going to kill me" in Dallas. And the police officer was mocking this guy, talking about, "Oh, he sleep. Listen to him snore." Talking about, "Hey, it's time to go to school," and stuff like that. And this wasn't an African-American guy either. So it's happening all across the board, mostly to African-Americans. But also, I ran across another story. Exactly.
Yeah, it's more than African-American.
It mostly happened to African-Americans. Google Gregory Edwards out of Florida. Young brother, he's a veteran. He did the marathon for veterans. They had taken picture with President Obama and all of this. Same thing happened to him. When I seen that video, the cop had him in cuffs, laying on his back like he was laying on a pillow like this, and ended up killing the guy. And once again, they got off. So we need to bring this to the forefront, need to expose stories like this, not just with our community, but all community. And bring it where these officers that are doing stuff like this, they're not being charged. The 3 in Dallas. I was telling Patrick over the weekend, I said, man, what kind of got me? The DA dropped the charges against all 3 of the guys that did it here in Dallas. He dropped all charges. And I'm like, that's not good. So in my eyes, I'm like, hey, if the DA is gonna do stuff like that, he won't get my vote again. He need to go too, regardless what race the person is. We need to choose the best person that's gonna represent the community, and not just somebody who gonna get a title and all of this. So the DA in Dallas, you will not get my vote again because you allowed these three officers drop the charges on them, and now they free, and his family is still hurting because of it.
Yep.
So that's my opinion.
I have a question for Patrick.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question for Patrick Curtis. 'Cause, when he first spoke, he said that protesting wouldn't be his way. What would be your way, Patrick, in order
Oh, no, no, no,
to?
no, no, no. No, no. Looting, and
Okay,
vandalizing businesses wouldn't be
would
my
not be
way to
your
get
way.
that message.
Okay,
Yeah, that wouldn't be my way to get that message across. But I do understand why it's happening. You know what I'm saying? So,
okay,
but,
okay.
yeah, but I'm honestly.
So protesting would be your way.
Oh yeah, 100%. I believe in a utility belt of options, whether it be protesting, whether it be actual physical force, whether it be voting, whether it be holding elected officials accountable. I believe in
Hmm.
utilizing the entire utility belt of
Okay,
options to advocate for change. Because
okay.
honestly, it's getting to a point to where I think all options should be on the table. Because
Yeah.
yeah, you can elect whoever you want, and you can even hold their feet to the fire as much as you want. But until you address the real issue, the rotten system that we
Hmm.
call democracy, the courts, the justice system, the even nationally, the electoral college process, uh, the fact that we're not an actual true democracy. We are a republic democracy, which means that the government sees it better for other people to elected officials. They can make decisions better than us, and I feel like that the American people are a smarter populace than that. Um, it's a lot of different things I think that we need to address, but I do want to piggyback off what y'all was saying, is that like voting is essential and elected officials are essential, and I think that when you got people working 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, and you got all these elections happening, whether it be local, county, statewide, whatever, people don't have the time to actually engage in democracy like they should. Do homework on candidates, see where they stand, see what issues affect them personally. It's on the go, on the go, on the go all the time with their day to day. With the coronavirus, people have had time to sit back and observe society at large. When you have time to sit back and observe society, you see a lot of things up close that you really didn't observe in your day to day because you're not tied up. And I think that that's the beginning of the unraveling of this system that we currently live in altogether. Altogether. I think that even the type of people that run for office are going to change. It's not going to be Harvard lawyers and Princeton lawyers, and I think that it is going to be the people, and it should be the people. It doesn't matter what school you went to, what your
Right.
economic social status is. It doesn't matter whether your legacy or not. It doesn't matter your religious denomination, any of that. I think that people who have like actual tangible plans to show the people, those are going to be the ones that push us forward. I wholeheartedly believe
Yeah.
so. But yeah, any tool, any tool in the history of revolution and progress, every tool is on the table. Whether it's taking up arms or whether it's peaceful protesting or whatever, everything in between, I'm all for it.
I'm for it too.
And and we also have to come out of our comfort zone. We have to come out of our comfort zone. There were times when I was helping candidates and asking individuals to vote for this candidate, and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I will." And when you go, they don't realize that we can see whether they vote or not on the post. We can't tell how you vote, but we can tell whether you came out to vote. And a lot of those very people that said that they were going to vote just didn't. And I think sometimes we get so comfortable because it's not affecting us that we don't get out there and actually go to the polls. And we have to stop being like that, because it's not just about us, it's about everybody. And we're
Yeah,
so used to just staying in our lane, and it's time for us to move around.
yeah,
Exactly.
100%,
We
one hundred
do
percent.
we do need to take a stand on everything that is going on, and if um, sometimes we just have to do what is in our hearts. Um, if it take
Yeah.
turning over table like Jesus did, hey, that's what we got to do sometimes. But be be mindful. There's always
Mhm.
consequences with it. So, and um, and Pat, I just got a message. Your picture is not showing up, probably because you're on your cell phone. But
Oh,
we'll
okay, okay,
correct it. You've been heard, but just can't be seen. So,
okay, perfect. Okay, cool, cool, cool.
um,
Okay,
but we'll put a picture up of them later on,
okay.
looking like the young Malcolm X in a sense. But
I can't
uh,
believe
uh,
that.
and, uh, and, uh, to piggyback off what I was saying, whether you turning over tables or whether you're peaceful protesting or voting or register people to vote or letting people stay in your house while they in town, whatever you're doing, everybody has a role in the revolution. Everybody.
exactly.
Mhm.
You could be somebody that hides supplies for the protesters somewhere and just let them know where it's at. You could be somebody that feeds the protester. You could be only a protester. You could be somebody that donates. You could be somebody that only votes and advocates for the right candidates. Everybody.
Right.
We need everybody. You could be somebody that
We
pick up
need
arms. You
everybody.
could be somebody that take up a skateboard and smash it upside of a building. You need everybody for the message that we're trying to send to one of the most oppressive systems the face of the earth has ever seen.
And also,
Yeah.
speaking of that, I think it was in D.C. Um, they was at there protesting, and someone did provide water for the protester and stuff like that. And the police department came up, lights and siren on, and they grabbed that water and destroyed it. Just started smashing it, hauling it off, and stuff like that. Basically, trying to force them to have to leave to get something to drink.
Yep.
And the
Yeah.
best thing a police officer can do, if it's a peaceful protest, the best thing they can do is just say, you know what, let's protest. I think I seen some officer in Michigan. I believe it was Flint, Michigan. Um, one of them said, you know
It
what,
was.
I'm taking my helmet off. I'm with y'all. We're with y'all. We're gonna
The
march
police
with
chief.
y'all, and
Yeah.
that's a good thing. And
Right.
we need more policemen to do that.
Right.
I've seen pictures of some kneeling and stuff like that, kneeling and
Yeah.
praying together. That's fine photo, but we also need to go out and do more.
Action.
Walk with the people, let them know that you're there. But then you have a video of something to come out like what happened in Atlanta Saturday night. Um, two young ladies in the car, police telling them keep moving. They was protesting, but traffic was heavy. They driving alone. Next thing you know, the cop come up, bust the window, tase the driver, pull the passenger out, tase her,
Mhm.
and they couldn't go nowhere. It's not like they was out there yelling and getting
Right.
out the
Right.
cars and all of this. They're in traffic. When you have cops like this, and if I'm
Right.
not mistaken, I think either two or three officers been fired and a couple of them been reprimanded because
They
of
were
it.
fired. Two of them were fired.
Two was fired and
Yeah.
three
Two of them were fired.
was suspended or something. And I'm glad Atlanta did act so quick on that. I'm glad they responded immediately, because if they would have waited, that would have been more issues. So we need more
Right.
cities to hold their officer accountable. Regardless, if they wrong, they're wrong. They're wrong, and that's all to it. You should definitely hold them accountable, and If you have to press charges to get them, do it. I also seen a post that somebody said instead of taking our tax dollars to pay for the lawsuit, let's take it out of the police pension plan, and watch how fast the numbers fall from all the racial lawsuit. I don't know who that is, Baba or whatever on Periscope talking about Green Lives Matter. All lives matter, but right now it's more minorities that are being killed than any other lives. There have been over 493 unarmed black people killed in America, probably in the last 5 to 10 years, maybe. Just unarmed and no charges have been filed. So, Green Lives Matter, you can keep that to yourself. But that's where I stand on this whole situation. It's all about spreading love to everyone. Everyone should be equal, but unfortunately, everyone is not equal.
Yep. Curtis, it's a hard issue. It really is. It's a hard issue. If you can look at me with compassion, with empathy, if you can look at me in a particular way and not look at me as inferior to you, or that you're better, you're superior to me. If you can look at me as an equal, as a human being, that you feel our skin off, the blood runs through our veins the same way.
Exactly.
If you can start looking at us in that way, your heart will change. But if you're looking at learning how to hate, you don't come out automatically hating from the womb. That behavior is learned. And then a lot of times as it continues to be in your life as a child, as an adult, you don't respect anybody else. You only respect your race, And there's been some horrific things said about the death of George Floyd. Things. Oh, they're glad they're gone. They hope he doesn't have any spawn. That comes from a real place of hate. And instead of just allowing these people to say those things, we have to respond back to them. Before, we used to just let it go. But now people are really responding back to that, responding back to that hate, not allowing it to go any further. And we have to be proactive in that as well.
Exactly. And some people, they just don't understand until you walk in my shoes or any black person's shoes, you really won't understand. Now, even if you grew up in a neighborhood with a lot of black people, it's a complete different. If a cop came up, it will be, they're going to treat you one way compared to how they treat an African American. Look at the videos. I seen a video about a guy came out with a machete telling the cops he's going to kill them and all of this. And they never did shoot him or anything. They didn't do anything, not saying they shouldn't, but if that was a minority, that person would have been shot as soon as they seen that weapon and he walked toward them. There's not too many cases when we hear about a minority not being shot. There's a lot of cases where minority are cooperating with the policemen and they still getting attacked.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So it's definitely... Go ahead, Ms. Kincaid. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, there was a prime example with CNN the other day where they passed the Caucasian gentleman from CNN, and he told them who he was, and they went right past him. And then the African American, man, they wind up arresting him. He had all his credentials. The camera crew was right there, but they still arrested him. And then they said it was a mistake. They thought but he was telling you, giving you all the information. He had his credentials. Oh, they thought he was just perpetrating. It was fake. But they didn't give just right next to him, or right down the block, they didn't do the same thing to the Caucasian man that they did. I mean, just right there. So it shows you the heart of those police officers. They already have it embedded in them that this black person is evil. This black person is doing something negative. Instead of just looking at the situation and just going from there, they don't even realize their own biases. You know, and if you ask that person, "Oh, I love everybody," but you don't really, and we all have biases, and we need to realize what they are.
Exactly. And the person on Periscope said Green Lives Matter again. Thank you for trolling us, and follow the page also. We'll accept everybody to troll, because maybe you'll learn something out of this conversation, out of this discussion. And also, we also have the mental health support line that is going up. Please take advantage of those lines and get some help. But definitely with all of this that is going on, I know for me, I watch the news, and I normally will watch the news on a daily basis. But sometimes you have to pull away. You have to pull away, because you're like,
yes, you do.
It will start to
It's very important.
cause you to have depression, seeing that type of violence all the time and stuff like that. Sometimes you got to pull away and just say, you know what, let me go a day or two without watching this and not staying up on it and all of that.
Right.
But you are right about the CNN. Live television, they arrested the guy, and he was clearly asking them, where would you like for us to move? He wasn't upset. He wasn't rude or anything. He was like, we moved where y'all wanted us to go. Where would you like for us to move to? And he was nice about it. But a couple of minutes later, you're under arrest. They didn't have a choice but to arrest the other guys for the simple fact. Looked like they were just going to arrest the reporter, the black guy. And if they would have done that, it would have been way more worse if they didn't arrest everyone else. So that's what we have to stop doing. Do not judge a person by the color of their skin. Judge them by their character, how they treat you, how they treating you. Don't forget, we're still in a pandemic. COVID-19 is still real. And you still have some crazy folks out here, because you have people going around, if they see somebody wearing a mask, they want to cough on people. I came from a different breed, so please don't cough on me. That's all I can say. Please don't try it, because
I won't with you.
Because my wife, and I already told her we have a emergency fund set up just in case, called the cough fund, or get out of jail fund. Because please don't try that with me, because it won't end well for neither one of us. It's not going to end well.
Okay.
Because once you cough on me in the middle of joking around or whatever, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and then you're coughing, and we're going to have issues. We're going to have some big issues. One hit wonder. That's all I'm going to say. But Patrick, for the young folks, what advice would you give them on this day, coming from a young person view? We know about the protests and the riots, stuff like that. What is the advice you would give them to take during this time?
Engage in democracy in all forms. Find your role in the revolution at all costs. Like I said, you could be somebody that drives protesters. You could be somebody that's a protester. You could be somebody that starts an organization that advocates for an issue. You could be an actual candidate that runs. You can be somebody that donates. You can be whatever. Find your role in the revolution, please. Another point I want to make too. This isn't necessarily a message for young people, but just for a message for Black Americans and people of color at large to think about. How can you make a moral argument to a country that has proven time and time again to be morally bankrupt?
Right.
Since the inception of the United States of America, in what instance, at what point in its history has it proven to be a morally sound country? This is a country that was at conflict with other nations. The only time it wasn't at conflict with other nations was during the Depression, when it financially couldn't afford to go to war. So how do you really make a moral argument to a morally bankrupt country? Slavery,
It's hard.
Jim Crow laws. It's hard.
It's definitely
It's
hard.
hard. So we need to use this time to think of other ways to get our points across for change to come outside of the moral stratosphere. Because obviously there is no moral stratosphere in America. The only morality in America is attached to a dollar bill.
Exactly.
I
And
saw a sign last night. I saw a sign last night from one of the protesters, and it said, "White silence is white violence." You know, there are people, they have to speak up. Caucasians have to speak up to say it's wrong, not just in their house. There are many that have been out there on the protest line, but we need more. We need those people that are in their homes, comfortable, looking at this and shaking their head and said, what a shame it is. We need you to speak to your families. We need you to speak to your friends about the injustice and how, this system that we have is one-sided, and it's time for them to stop. Like I said, staying in their comfort zone. It's time for them to get out, and it's hard. Those who have
Yeah.
tried to, their families sometimes ostracize them, but it's time to speak out.
Yeah.
and
And then it goes to how dedicated to progress are you as a human being? That's really the question we all need to ask ourselves. How dedicated to progress are we truly? Because a lot of us, whether we know it or not, we have been conditioned to be content with the current circumstances that we live in.
Right.
So a lot of people are scared or don't know how, or just sometimes just have to be shown a way. And that's why I think that everybody playing their role in the revolution for liberation and progress, I think that's why it's important for everybody to find their role, because you never know what light you could be for somebody or what source of information you could be for somebody.
and I would like to say, ask Patrick a question. I know
Yes,
we
sir.
talked about it before, but I'm gonna put you on blast.
Okay.
Because you have a lot of good knowledge. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like you can lead a lot of young folks. At
Uh-huh.
some point, are you going to consider trying to run for office?
Maybe. It's crazy you say that, because that was something that I always said that, once I get maybe in my 50s, my 60s, I might consider. But coronavirus, like a lot of other things, they expedited a lot of stuff. And it showed me that my voice can be of use. The only thing that worries me is, as a man, as a black man, as a protector, as a man who has a family, like I'm a for real protector, like take this seriously, like I die for my people and die for what I believe in. I don't
Right.
think that energy would get matched by a lot of people. That's the thing that scares me, is that I don't think people, they won't change, but are they willing to go through the steps for proper change? You know what I'm saying? And I think that me as a leader, or me as somebody with a voice, I think that I just need to figure out how to utilize people in the proper way to get that change. People want to be of use. People want to help out. They just have to be guided in the right direction. So, yeah, I 100%, Kurt. Like, I'm definitely thinking about running it some days, if not sooner than later.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. I know we talked, I guess, a while back, and I told you, I said,
Yeah,
man, look, you have a voice. You should be heard. You kind of remind me of a young John Riley Price when he was the only one downtown protesting by himself. And we
yeah,
need more young people to come up
Right.
like that. We
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
more people to come up like
We
that.
do. We do.
Um,
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. You have to. When we talked, you went into depth.
That's
You said
ideals.
you have to protect your family, and I understand that because you have a young son um, who is coming up, and he's gonna watch everything that you do. So I definitely understand it. But if you ever decide to run, I'm here for you. I'm always support you, and I, I ain't putting on no cheerleader suit, but I'll be your cheerleader. but definitely, we need more young people that is educated in politics, that have a voice, that have the followers that would listen to what they say. And you are one of the young men that I think about when it comes down to this, because I know I'm kind of up there a little bit, but I listen to what you say because a lot of time what you're saying is very educated and some good knowledge that is being said. That's why I wanted to invite you on the show. Unfortunately, I was unable to see your picture, but we're gonna make that better, and hopefully in the future you'll come back on some other shows with some
Yeah. 100%.
other issues that is going on and stuff like that. But we definitely, as a people, as a community, as the world, we need to register to vote. Not
Yes.
just the presidential election.
Yeah.
All of them.
We need to vote for the locals because the local are the ones to set the laws for what we're going through. So we need to start there up to the presidential. That don't mean miss out on November because November, even though they saying in Texas they not gonna let us do a mail-in ballot. I don't care if I gotta wear um, a hazmat suit and stand in
I
line for
have
two
that
days.
too. I'm with you.
Yep.
Stand in line for
Yep.
2 days. I'm going to vote. My
Yep.
voice will be heard. And if
Yeah,
you're
me too.
listening to the
And we
show,
have the privilege, yeah, we have the privilege in Texas to early vote. There are many states that only can vote on election day, and we don't even realize the privilege that we have of early voting, that we can go out, and it's no reason for us not to vote here. And in other states that have early voting, there's no reason not on election day as well, but really, we are really privileged to be able to go out early and vote and cast our votes. But I'm with you, Curtis. If I got to wear a hazmat suit, I got to be out there. I'm gonna be out there, and I'm gonna vote.
definitely get out and vote. Now, some people may say, well, I have a record. I'm a felon. Certain states, not all states, but check with your state. If you are ex-convict that have a record, some states, after so long, they allow you to get your voting rights back. So definitely check with your state to see if you're in that state. And if you're able to get your voting rights back,
Right.
vote. Vote. It don't cost nothing, it don't hurt nothing. Well, it do hurt some if you don't vote. But definitely vote, let your voice be heard,
Exactly.
Yep.
and just let it be heard. Make a difference. If you're not agreeing with your elected officials, get them out of office. The best way of doing that is by voting. Voting can solve a lot of stuff because what'll happen, the next one they get in there, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, I don't want to be like that last person. They voted them out. I want to stay in here," and they will have to do what you want them to do. The ones we have here, Greg Abbott,
But hey, those who are doing, those who are doing it, keep them in. Those who are doing the work and doing the community service and listening to the people, keep them in as well.
exactly.
Everybody's not a bad politician.
Everyone is not, because we have some good ones here. We have some good one here. Some of
Hmm.
them don't like their views, but uh, the governor, Greg Abbott, gotta go. He need to go. Uh, Dan Patrick gotta go. Ted
Yep.
Cruz gotta go.
Yep.
Ken
So
Paxton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan,
Paxton, all of them.
all of them. Ken
The
Paxton
Mhm.
gotta
whole, the
go.
whole, the whole regime.
And Ken
Mhm.
Paxton, I think he almost was in jail a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he
So
got hit with a
Mhm.
case.
so he
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
got to go. Stealing finances or something like that. Wasn't it? I can't remember the case, but it was something about he was representing a company. Company didn't tell him he was on the board. All of that. But
See,
either
that's
way,
another,
he
and
need to
that's
go.
another thing, and that's another thing too. The punishment, and that's why. That's how you know the system is so rotten. The stuff that Paxton does, Caraway's sitting in jail for. Black
Yes.
politicians are sitting in jail for.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
I never forget how they pretty much ostracized. I said never forget like I was alive, but how I read about how they ostracized Adam Clayton Powell. You know, when he was doing the same thing that they were doing, same
Exactly.
thing. But now I don't want to sidetrack. But yeah, I just wanted to make that little point. But yeah, we need to get all of them out of here. All of
Oh,
them need to go.
we need to. That's kind of like last week in the middle of this pandemic, the riots and all of this. The ones that sold all those millions of stocks, all the charges was dropped against them last week.
Insane, absolutely insane.
Now, if I
Except
was
for one, I think. But yeah.
if I was Marcia Stewart, I'd be upset. Even if it's one, that's one too many. Because if I was Marcia Stewart and I
Right.
went to jail for that, I would be upset. I would be protesting. No, y'all sent me to jail for it. They need to go too. So, but we're gonna be mindful of
There's
y'all time.
definitely double standard.
Exactly. It's double standard for different people. And that's that old saying, depends on who you know. When you all in bed together, you're going to do corrupt stuff like that. And they need to be held accountable. Here it is. The economy is bad. Right before the pandemic hit, before we found out about it, before the people found out about it, they sold all their stocks, millions of stocks. And I'm like, no, they need to be charged. They should be charged. So, but we appreciate y'all for coming on. Ms. Kincaid, if you can give
Thank you
out
for
your
having
information, because I understand during this time, a lot of people are stressed out, depressed, don't know what's going to happen and all of this. If you would like to share your information, where if they need counseling, if you are in Texas, you can do telehealth, personal insurance, whatever. EAT, employee assistant,
DAP.
EAP. I guess I'm hungry. I didn't eat breakfast this morning. EAP. Uh, um, Earned Employee Assistance Program. If you go to your HR, they have a program that can get you counseling for free.
Mm-hmm.
Take advantage of it. Ms. Kincaid, if you could share your information and how they can get in contact with you, and hopefully people will take advantage of it. Next, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ms. Kincaid. Go ahead and share your information.
My name is Tony Kincaid or Antoinette Kincaid. I am in private practice in Grand Prairie, Texas. I would love to have you as a client if you feel like you need counseling, and all of us need counseling. All of us can sit on the couch at one point or other. And I would love to have you. My telephone number is 214-668-7051, and you can contact me via telephone or email, transitions316@gmail.com. There's a lot going on, and Curtis, I thank you for the opportunity once again to be on your show. I thank you, Patrick, for the information that you discussed, and prayerfully that you will be running, because we do need some young voices leading us.
That's good. And also, Patrick, like I said, you ever decide to run, you have a platform. You can come out, and we will support you all the way. I'm in your corner. I will back you, and look like it's from sitting to drop, or you got happy. But I will support you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Pat. No, can't hear you. But you'll be able to discuss it on the next show. But we really appreciate y'all for watching today.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be mindful of their time. Next week, well, I'm not. We'll talk about next week later this week because it'll probably be a couple of more shows I'll do this week. And but we appreciate y'all for watching. Continue to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch. If you have comments, send them in. I will respond to everyone. If you have a question for either one of the guests, let us know, and we will go ahead and share that information with them. If I cannot answer it, we will get an answer for you. Until next time, I appreciate you. Love each and every one of you. Be safe. Peace.
God bless.
God bless. Peace.
Bye.